Hi guys, it's Ray from Ray's Turquoise Turtle. Today I am starting a deep pour project in this mold. This mold is 2.5 inches deep by about 3.5 square. So I'm gonna have to do this pour in layers, several layers, 6, 8, I'm not entirely sure. I mixed up 100 mLs of resin, but I don't really know how that's going to translate into it, and I want it colored, so I'm going to pour probably most of it to start. I just don't know how much I want. Although there's nothing in this layer that I can hurt, so I'll probably just go ahead and do about, that's probably most of it, so 80 or 90. And I do want a slight blue tint to this back layer, so I'm just going to put a couple drops of a homemade blue alcohol ink in. And I'm just going to mix that in. I just want the slightest tint of color because I still want it see-through. And I know this is going to sound weird, but because of what I'm doing with this particular piece, I'm not actually terribly concerned with it holding some bubbles. In fact, if it doesn't hold any bubbles, I'm going to add these little bubble beads at some point in some of the layers, because I actually want this piece to have bubbles like something was dropped in water. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour all of that in. And I know it's going to look purple in the bottom of the pink mold, but it won't be when it's demolded. It's not a terribly deep layer, but I think it'll be fine for the first layer. So I'm going to let this layer set up for a little bit. I don't want like a million bubbles, so I don't want to use any heat on this mold. So what I am going to do is, oh goodness, I would like to spritz it with some alcohol if I can find my spritzer. Here's one. Oops, sorry, I jiggled you. This just has 91% in it. And I don't think you can probably see what that does. But you can see the bubbles pop on top when you do that. And I am just going to let it sit for a bit and start to firm up. And then I'm going to come back and do some embeds on it. And I may add another layer to this tonight. So I'll be back. Okay, it's been a bit. This layer is still pretty soft, but I need to embed some shells, and I'm hoping they sink a little bit, but perhaps not all the way to the bottom. I don't want a big bubble behind this one, but I want it in there. And then the rest can just kind of float on top somewhat. This one's kind of tough because it is hollow, so, and having used these in other stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and fill it some and roll it. And let some of that resin fill in. And then I'm going to place it. That bottom coat is pretty stiff. This project was inspired by a product photo taken for Seapaints, the paint line I use. They have a really awesome photographer who took a bunch of really cool pictures of their products, and his photos were just inspiring for this project. So I kind of wanted to recreate one of his pictures cast in resin. This is 100 milliliters I'm using this time. I'm using the whole thing. That sand dollar I just put in there is probably going to blow some bubbles for a little bit. This starfish might blow some bubbles for a little bit, so I will have to keep an eye on this layer a little bit better. I'm trying to decide if I want to embed one of the paint pots yet or not, or if I need to wait till the next layer, but I do think I need to put one in this layer, so I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. And some of these smaller shells may try and float a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it too much if they do. So I'm going to go ahead and spritz this quick. Try and get some of the bubbles out. This is just one of their little sample pots, so I'm just going to use those to embed. Yeah, and I definitely want to put this one in now. So the lid's on there pretty tight. It shouldn't bubble too much. It should be okay. And hopefully it won't float or roll. If it floats a little bit, it's fine. I just don't want it to roll this way. I want it like full on side view. And I'm trying to decide if I want to put some of these little bubbles at the top. In his pictures, there are bubbles coming like where the paint was dropped into something. So I kind of want to recreate that as well. So I think I'm just going to sprinkle a few in my hand. It's probably more than I want. So I think I just dropped somewhere. I didn't really want them, but now they're rolling all over my counter. But I'm just going to go ahead and put a couple in. Oh, they're assorted sizes. Cute. Cute, cute little bubbles. So that's what I'm going to have so far. And this I'm going to have to kind of babysit or try and somehow weight down without sinking anything in. But hopefully I'll only have to like push it back a couple of times. That shell I think I'm just going to let float. I'm okay with that. So that was step 2. This now has 180 mLs of resin and most of the embeds. It's going to get one more paint pot in this corner with the next pour. That should keep it below the edge. And after that, it's just going to be clear coat to fill the mold. I should be able to have it filled by the end of the day tomorrow. And then I should be able to unmold it the following day. And I can see where the starfish is blowing a little bubble up here. So I'm going to continue to keep an eye on that. But that's it. I will be back for the next step. So watching this for a little bit and watching how far up the starfish floated, I did decide I want to add a couple of shells. Probably just some small ones. I have these cute little zebra stripey things. So I might drop one of them in. And these might roll over. I just decided it looks too empty now. So I'm going to put a couple of those in. And I grabbed, I like these like iridescent swirly ones. I'm not wearing gloves right now, so I am using tweezers to do this. I'm going to grab a couple bigger ones to float to the bottom. So, just going to take a couple more out of this bag. Maybe this one can go down here. And this little one I'm going to put over here. I just feel like I got too empty looking all of a sudden. But I didn't want to not show you guys a step. So I'm just going to kind of scooch that one under. I think I need something else right in there. But I don't know what I want. I've got tons and tons of shells, so let me put this little spirally one on there. I might drop another one of these right in here. I just wanted to have a lot of texture and dimension, and I felt like I had lost some of that once they separated out. So, and I have turned this back down several times already, and I'm just going to keep pushing it down till it stays eventually. Okay, that was all. I just didn't want you to miss that step. Okay, I am back for the next layer, and the next layer is going to get the next paint pot. This is just, these are empty. I painted the inside. After whatever was in there dried, I touched it up. So this one I am going to, this is pretty hard, but I'm going to see if I can get it to stick so it doesn't float. So I won't have to babysit it as long. Now this batch I mixed in a cup like this without a good measurement, so I am measuring from a measuring cup. So 25, 50, 75, 'Oh, I didn't realize I was so close there. Sorry about that. So this is still going to be about 100 mLs, maybe slightly less. But I'm going to go ahead and scrape the cup anyways. I am working this project in tandem with another project, so I'm just going to drizzle some over the top of this. Let it start getting coated. And I am hoping that the sticker stays on that lid. I wanted to preserve the stickers, the labels, in the piece. Because when it sits on this part, they'll be visible from the top, hopefully. Is the goal anyways. So that was about another 100. So this has 300 total so far, and it is more than half done. I told you this was 2.5 deep, and that brings this one to just about 1.5 inches. So I have about 1 inch to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a spritz. I'm going to watch it for a little bit and make sure this paint pot doesn't pop up. And then I'm going to let this layer sit and the whole thing can kind of hard cure a little bit more overnight. And then I'll have 2 more layers to pour tomorrow. And then she'll be done. But this will be below the surface, so that's perfect. I'm trying to decide if I want to put more shells in or not. I kind of feel like I want to. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know what I want for shells. I have so many. I don't know if any of the ones in here are going to be small enough. I don't want the shells that I have already to disappear. I feel like most of those are going to be too big. See what I got in here. I really want like perfect things in here. I'm gonna go ahead and put that scallop in there. It's a pretty cute little one. I'm gonna put this little guy in here. It's got a little hole in it, so it'll actually fill better. I'm gonna let this one sink down a little bit to the bottom of the layer. Now that layer underneath was pretty hard, so they're only going to go just so far. And I want another small sand dollar, but I don't have any more small ones in the other bag, so I'm going to open up a new bag of sand dollars. These I bought at a weird local dollar store, and I already regret not buying every bag they had in the store at the time, because I've used them for all kinds of projects already. And the first bag is just about gone already. And I'm going to sink a little one of these spirally guys in. And this one will probably float. Another one of those over there in the corner. And sorry, I just have so many. It's hard to sort through and pick them sometimes. A couple more of these little guys in, just because they're super pretty. And the last, I'm going to grab a couple more of those zebra-y ones from the first round. Whoops. I need my tweezers. So I use tweezers. Okay, that should be plenty for now. And I'll see how it looks on the next round. The very last round, I'm not going to put anything in, but the next round, I might add a few more. And it looks like this one's not going to float at all, so that's wonderful. So, I'm just going to give it another spritz once or twice. And, double check it in a little bit to make sure that it hasn't moved at all, and I will be back to finish the rest. Okay, I am ready for the next round of resin on this. This is sat overnight. I did pull some shells already. This will be the last batch that gets shells. So I'm going to measure into a cup, so I know about how much I'm using this round. Because again, I measured into a large cup this time instead of a Dixie cup, or all my silicone cups are dirty except for my huge ones. And I didn't want to mix a giant batch, and I had a cup to clear coat first, and so that is 4, I believe. So that's 100. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. So that batch is about 125 mils, and that almost fills it. So I'm probably gonna have about another 100 to add to this in the last coat. Just gonna let the cup drain a little bit. Okay. And I do have one little spot where, I don't know if it's because the paint wasn't completely dry in there, or if it was just the heat from the resin loosened it up a little bit, but I do have a little void spot in the one paint pot, but it's certainly not the end of the world. Nothing I'm going to get too upset about. Spritz it once, I'll let some of the bubbles rise, I'll spritz it again. Like I said, I am going to add some more shells this go around. Just going to sit them on and let them sink in. that I've got in this set that I want to use. One more of those little guys. I'll probably just drop a couple small ones. I don't want it like totally nutty. Stick one of these, a couple of these little zebra guys in. Tweezers and just move that guy back a little bit. I'm just going to poke them down to start. Some of them are going to float back up, and that's fine. I just want the depth and dimension. There. So this is going to sit for a couple hours, and then it's going to get the last top coat. It is closing in on full. It may only need about 75 to fill at this point. So I'll be back in a bit. So this is ready for its final layer. So again, I'm going to measure into a cup. Before I pour that, I just want to mention that I did miss a couple bubbles, and they did start to harden, but I poked them so it left a void that should hopefully fill on this round. And I did also off camera at the end of the last round add a couple more of these little beads. So I'm just going to fill this to the top now. And I do want it completely filled, even though I could stop a little bit short, just so it doesn't climb the wall of the mold and leave a void on the top. So that's 50. It's about 75. And I am just going to probably about another 20 will do it. And I'm going to move this to a super level surface. This table's kind of level, but not probably as precisely leveled as my actual turner table. So, because this is kind of my general crafting space. So I'm going to spritz it there. Hopefully more of those bubbles will work their way up. And I'm just going to get down at eye level and look across the top. I'm just going to put a little bit more in so it can almost dome at the top. Alright, so this will be the final pour for this piece. I'm going to give it a good solid, I'm going to keep an eye on the bubbles as they rise. I'll continue to pop them. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a good solid day to harden up before I unmold it. So I will come back and we will unmold it and see what we have. Okay, I am ready to take this one out of the mold. I have never actually demolded something this big, so we'll see how this goes. I have a little wet resin under here that I don't want getting on here, so I'm just going to give this a quick wipe. Okay, so actually it's not really stuck at all, so let's see. I don't want to rip my mold, being that this is the first use. There's the back. You can see that little bit of aqua I put in there first. Mold looks perfect. It's got one little bubble behind that shell. And I don't know, it's a little sticky spot. You can kind of count the layers if you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bottom, this side, it's got like a little defect or where some slip down in the mold. But there's my top, and there's my front. It looks so good. It does have some bubbles in it, but I'm okay with that. I knew it would, and being that this is a water piece, I'm perfectly okay with that. And you can see my little bubbles that I added. So that's it. I am pretty pleased with my first large piece. If you would please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps my channel. And if you would give me a thumbs up, I would also appreciate that. Well, let me know what you think of this piece. Thank you. Bye.